Terry Barber is a best-selling author and founder of Lighthouse Catholic Media. Jesse Romero is a retired law enforcement officer, a former kickboxing champion with a master's degree in theology. And together, they share a passion for evangelization and PhDs in common sense. You're listening to The Terry and Jesse Show on Immaculate Heart Radio. To join the show, call 888-526-2151. Here's Terry and Jesse.
Blue Collar Catholic Radio. You know, Pope John Paul II said something which just brought shockwaves 20-some-odd years ago. He said, you cannot take a vote on the truth. He says the truth is not a democracy. You cannot take a vote on the truth. Why do I say that? Well, once again, the culture of death is rearing its ugly head, and this time over in Hawaii, with a lot of good Catholics out there, good Protestants out there that are just up against the euthanasia bill that's supposed to be voted on tomorrow. We have a good Catholic activist by the name of Joe Yadao, who's here on the line with us, and we want to talk about getting the word out there in Hawaii and letting Catholics know why this is dangerous. Joy, welcome to the Terry and Jesse Show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Joy, okay, couple of states have already passed the euthanasia
6
bill.
of them,
yeah, here in the U.S. It started off in Oregon.
That's right.
It's as Catholics, obviously, we have the doctrinal teachings of the Church, and the Church is very clear that this is part of, again, the culture of death, that in no way, shape, or form are we supposed to be taking people's innocent human life. This is only the prerogative of God. So tell us a little bit about tomorrow's vote and how we can get the word out. Tell us kind of what's going on here with the euthanasia bill. Does it look like it has a lot of steam, and what can Catholics do so we can stop this or nip this in the bud? Who do they have to call?
Well, definitely it is being heard tomorrow. It is Senate Bill 1129. That's 1129. And it already passed our Senate with a vote of 22 in favor and 3 opposed. We expected that was the sentiment of the Senate, and then the bill crossed over to the House, where it needs to be heard in the Health Committee, which it is scheduled for tomorrow, as well as the Judiciary Committee, which will look at, I guess, the law, the potential shortcomings of the law, and then it would go to a House vote, and then recross over, I believe, and they would compare in the 2 chambers, and that's if it passes the House. Which there are many House members that do not like this bill, and we need to support them in that effort. We need to have more public outcry, basically, and public outreach to our legislators to let them know that we are not silent on this issue. In Hawaii, they have tried to get this legislation passed for many years. And for many years, the people of Hawaii have opposed it.
Good.
It is not in keeping with our local culture of ohana, meaning family, and taking care of each other and of our kupuna, or our elderly.
Got it. Joy,
it just goes against our culture.
It sounds like, Joy, this is Terry Barber. I have a question to ask you regarding mom and dad who are listening to this show, especially in Hawaii. Specifically, what kind of action items? Are there phone numbers to call, like the House of Representatives? Are there letters? Or at this point, probably phone numbers. Are there numbers that you can give out on the air that could equip people to say, look, we're going to take some action items and try and let our representatives know we're opposed to this?
I definitely can give you those numbers. I'd have to get that for you in just a second.
Sure. Well,
people should definitely call their own representative in the House. For those folks who are listening in Maui, it is especially important for you to call Speaker Joe Suki.
Good.
And I'll get that number. He is the Speaker of the House, and he is from Maui. But there are other Maui representatives as well, depending on where you live. And certainly on the other islands, on Oahu and the other islands, call your own representative because they are supposed to be your voice in the House of Representatives. But there is also, we have online testimony. It is a little late to submit it for the hearing tomorrow, but they will take late testimony. So up until tomorrow, please go ahead and submit it at capital.hawaii.gov. There is an online process.
Good.
It's really simple. Or your testimony can be emailed. It can be faxed in. There are a variety of ways that you can get your voice heard. But if that's not possible to do the writing and the emailing and things like that, definitely a phone call to your own representative.
Great.
Joy, let me jump in.
And I can... Sure.
Yeah, Joy, as you try to get that number for us so we can announce it over and over again, let me define euthanasia. Some people may be saying, what? What are they talking about? Here's what the way the Catechism defines it. So I guess so people could know what we're talking about. This euthanasia bill that's pending in Hawaii, and they're going to be voting on it tomorrow. Euthanasia is defined by the Catholic Church and the Catechism as such: an action or an omission which of itself or by intention causes the death of handicapped, sick, or dying persons, sometimes with an attempt to justify the act as a means of eliminating suffering. Euthanasia violates the fifth commandment of the law of God, thou shalt not kill. That's just for people in case they're wondering what we're talking about. And basically, we have you on here. This is Joy Yadao, a Catholic activist over in Hawaii, who's very concerned about her state. And she's obviously a practicing Catholic who cares about the issues of life. And right now it's a time of Lent. In the time of Lent, we're supposed to exercise the spiritual works of mercy, as the Catechism says in paragraph 2247. And one of the spiritual works of mercy is instruct the ignorant. And that's what we're doing. That's why we have Joy on. Terry?
I want to add and support what you just said about the Catechism through Scripture. Because when the state authority loses its legitimacy through its lack of conformity to God's law, people like us have a right to resist such a government and oppose it. That's what we're doing. The Christian, Catholic, Protestant, we're all goodwill people bound to follow divine law even in difficult circumstances. Because here's what the Bible has to say. We must obey God rather than any human authority. That's from Acts chapter 5, verse 29.
So, Joy, do you have the number of people that our listeners can call up and we can start letting our voices be heard out there in Hawaii?
Definitely. Our the representative that is the chair of the Health Committee, her name is Della Albelati. Last name is Belatti, and her number is 808-586-9425. And the email is repbelatti@capital.hawaii.gov.
Beautiful.
And that's REPBELATTI. She is the chair of the Health Committee, and she needs to hear your voice. She represents a district in Honolulu, but then there are also other reps that either sit on that committee or are reps in your particular area. And definitely you would want to go to the website capital.hawaii.gov and look up your particular rep. Some of the reps from Maui, which I know we have a lot of listeners in Maui, if your rep is Lynn DeCoit, then her number is 808-586-6790. If your rep is, let me find another one from Maui. If you live in Kihei or Wailea, your rep is Kaniala Ing. Last name is ING, and his number is 808-586-8525. If your rep is, because there are several from Maui.
Sure.
Let's see.
As you get that number, let me just mention something to the audience. As Catholics, this is exactly what we're called to do. We're called to share our voice, share the gospel, and sanctify the temporal order. That's what Vatican II says.
Exactly.
That's the mission of lay Catholics. Exactly what we're doing right now. You know, as Catholics, everyone's called to evangelize. And when we fight the culture of death and we speak the truth in charity, this is one of the things that's expected of all the baptized in the new evangelization. This is what Jesus Christ expects of us. He doesn't expect us just to exercise, just go into a corner and just lock the door and be quiet and don't get involved with the temporal order. That's called quietism, the heresy of quietism. Don't get me wrong, we have to pray, but we also have to act as well.
Yeah, Jesse, you're talking Vatican II decree on the missionary activity of the church. It says the whole church is missionary, and the work of evangelization is the fundamental task of the people of God. The good news. We're talking to Joy. We're going to take a quick break to talk more about the euthanasia bill, but I want to remind everybody this time of Lent, I've been promoting the book on CD, The Imitation of Christ. It's 500 years old. The Little Flower said it was her favorite book. If you didn't get a copy of that, you can call 877-526-215, and I'll get you the first CD. We'll just hit the shipping. Also, don't forget about the Meditations on the Passion of Christ. It's not too late for me to send that to you with Doug Barry and also Father Bill Casey, Tim Staples, Dr. Hahn. They're all talking about the value of the suffering of Christ on the cross. Great meditation, 877-526-2151. Don't forget also, when we take this quick break, we'll get right back with Joy. Don't forget Jesse Romero's conference on marijuana, May 6th. Also our conference, April 1st, on the call to holiness. We're all called. That's another clarion call from Vatican II. Call to holiness. If you want to register or get any of those CDs, call 877-526-2151 or go online to catholicrc.org. We'll be back in a moment.
Back to the Terry and Jesse Show on Immaculate Heart Radio. Want to join the conversation? Call 888-526-2151. Now here's Terry and Jesse.
You definitely want to stay tuned for the next segment. As you well know, there are several places where Satanists are trying to set up these after-school programs. I'm going to share with you, I'm going to give you the reasons as parents why it's dangerous for a Satanist to minister to your kid after school. I'm going to give you the reasons why, okay? Now, I'm not only going to denounce the IRS for fast-tracking them and giving them this IRS status faster than they do to the churches. You're going to see the reasons why. I'm going to quote one of the top exorcists, Father James LeBar, rest in peace, from New York, what he says about this whole thing about a Satanist and your child and what they do. But right now we got Joya Dow. She's a Catholic activist over in Hawaii. They want to pass the euthanasia bill tomorrow. The culture of death is still banging their drums. And St. John Paul II had to say something about governments that do this. In the Gospel of Life, paragraph 20, he says this, quote, "This is what is happening also at the level of politics and government. The original and inalienable right to life is being questioned or denied on the basis of a parliamentary vote, even if it's the majority," close quote. So Pope John Paul II, he spoke about this in the Gospel of Life, that this type of democracy is moving towards a form of totalitarianism where basically the government's deciding what's right and what's wrong, and the voice of the people is being drowned out. Joy, what other numbers can the people call up so that we can make the phones ring, and let's try to put a halt to this euthanasia law that's pending?
Yes, I really appreciate that. For those of you actually anywhere that the listeners are, please call Speaker Joe Souki. Souki is his last name. The folks in Maui know him well, as well as throughout the state, because he's been the Speaker of the House for quite some time. He has said on record that he supports this bill, even though he himself is a Catholic. And his number is area code 808-586-6100. Because he's Speaker of the House, you don't have to live in Maui to call him. Please, everyone should be calling him. But also, if you know your particular representative, then there are, many representatives in Maui, Rep. Yamashita, Rep. Woodson, Rep. McKelvey, all really want to hear your voice. Rep. Psyche is in leadership. Rep. Mizuno is the vice speaker. Rep. Mizuno represents actually my district in Kalihi Valley, and he is the vice speaker. His number is 808-586-6050. For those who can go online, capital.hawaii.gov, you can click on a button to find your representative. You just put your zip code in, and you'll be linked into your representative if you want to either email or call, your representative directly. But I would really suggest that everyone call Speaker Joe. As we know him here, we love him dearly, but he is not on our side on this issue.
Right.
And he needs to hear the voice of the people. The opponents of us, those who present this bill, is a group called Compassion and Choices. They are not local to Hawaii. They are throughout the nation in different states trying to get these bills passed. And Compassion and Choices has, I believe, in my opinion, misrepresented themselves and have asked the people of Hawaii if they would like to die with dignity. And I think just about everyone, if you are asked a question, would you like to die on your own terms, without pain and suffering, with lots of dignity, with your family and friends? I think most people would say, sure, that sounds like a good idea. And so they did a poll. They only asked 600 people, but they claimed that 80% of their poll supported this measure. And that is just a gross misrepresentation of the people of Hawaii. And we need to make sure that our voices are heard, that we are not just in the 20% minority. In fact, overwhelmingly, the people of Hawaii do not support this.
Right.
And that has not been demonstrated to our legislators enough.
Right.
And so I fight every day for this,
God love
so
you.
do many other people,
Sure.
and we need your help.
Well, you're going to get our help. We're also posting 3 links on our Catholic RC website to get people to get on board with that. Also, I want to mention something that Thomas Aquinas says. He says grace builds on nature. We're talking about all the action items we can do to stop this euthanasia bill. I'm going to suggest everyone, not only in Hawaii, all of us here in the 48 states, we could also be praying for the success of stopping this bill through Eucharistic adoration, your rosaries, making visits to the Blessed Sacrament. I'm asking everybody in a prayer chain to support this because we've already got 6 states out of 50 supporting euthanasia. We need to stop this in the bud through our prayers and our actions. Joy, go ahead, Jesse. You got another follow-up.
If somebody wants to see where the Catechism talks about this, it's in 2277, the official church's teachings. It says, the church condemns absolutely an act or omission which, of itself or by intention, causes death in order to eliminate suffering. That's 2277 of the Catechism, so that's very clear. And I'll tell you also why things like this happen. St. John Paul II, rest in peace, he says, error makes its way because the truth is not taught.
Exactly.
Well, we can't be accused of that on Catholic radio. We're teaching the truth. We got Joy here teaching the truth about what's happening in Hawaii. We want to expose this to the light of truth. And obviously, we want Catholics to get involved. This is the way.
Amen.
St. John Paul II says we have to use faith and reason.
That's right.
Faith and reason. Like Terry says, start those prayer chains. We got to start picking up our rosaries, going to the Blessed Sacrament. But we also have to get involved in calling these numbers because, as this good British statesman said one day, evil exists because good men do nothing.
Joy, we just have a couple minutes. Can you remind us of those phone numbers? Because someone might have just tuned into the show, and we want them also to get involved with being proactive. Could you give us those numbers one more time, the state people?
Sure. For Speaker Joe Suki's office, it's area code 808-586-6100. For John Mizuno, Vice Speaker of the House, 808-586-6050.
Great.
Now, just one last thing I just want to mention from a Catholic perspective why we shouldn't legalize any of this. Because to sanction the taking of an innocent life, this contradicts the primary purpose of what we were created for. And also this contradicts what we should be doing in a ordered society. So any law that's unjust, the Catholic, we have to oppose it.
That's right.
Any court decision that's unjust, as a Catholic, especially these laws that demean our lives, like abortion, like euthanasia, this demeans our lives. And who are the most vulnerable? The old people. Those are the vulnerable. Those are the voiceless people, or the people that don't have much money, the poor, the elderly, the frail, even, racial minorities, or people who just don't have insurance. They're going to be pressured to take this, quote, pill so that you can get rid of yourself. This is wrong on all levels, and as Catholics, we have to let our voices be heard. Terry?
Well, I just want to say it one more time to Joy and to all our listeners. A Christian is bound to follow divine law, even in difficult circumstances. We must obey God rather than any human authority, and that's based by, Book of Acts, chapter 5, verse 29. So I want to encourage all people of goodwill to fight this law, because we're morally obligated to fight for truth, because error is something we have to avoid like the plague. And right now we need good people to stand up. Joy, your final thoughts before we go to our break. I'd like to have you have the final word.
Sure. I'm a registered nurse that's practiced, my whole career here in Hawaii.
Great.
I am the former executive director of the St. Francis Hospice and Palliative Care Program.
God love you.
I know the people of Hawaii and especially of Maui. I have family there.
Sure.
And for all Catholics, I need you to understand that this is not a good bill. This is not death with dignity by any means. And to please, please pray for us and call your legislator.
Great. Thanks, Joy.
Joy, thank you very much. We'll be getting back with you and seeing how things are going in Hawaii. But thank you very much for all the information that you put out. And we'll see you real soon. God bless you.
God
Keep
love
the
you.
faith, okay?
God bless all of you. Thank
Thanks.
you.
You betcha.
Just want to mention real quick tonight. I'm going to be at St. Anthony of Padua Church in Casa Grande, Arizona tonight. I'll be there at 6:30 p.m. I'll be giving 2 talks. So if you want to hear some power preaching with devil-destroying theology, you can go to Casa Grande, Arizona, St. Anthony of Padua Church. I'll be there tonight at 6:30 p.m. Terry, where are you going to be at?
Well, I'm going to be with the Legion of Mary this Saturday up in Santa Maria. But I just want to remind everybody, we're going to be talking about a serious topic about after-school Satan Club. And if you want to get a copy of David Arias, he's the former Satanist who spoke at our conference on the Spiritual Warfare Conference, I'll give it away. I'll give you 2 copies if you call 877-526-215. And because what we're going to be talking about, people like Zachary King, David Arias, all had the same thing happen to them. And this is why this after-school Satan program needs to be stopped, because it leads kids into the occult. And if you want those CDs, just call 877-526-215. And don't forget, the Imitation of Christ book for your meditations on Lent. It's so important to get that. You can also get the DVD on the Meditations on the Passion of Christ by Doug Berry. Tim Staples. You got Scott Hahn. You got Father Bill Casey. All of them are going to talk about the Passion. It'll give you a great reflection on the Passion. Call 877-526-215. And all I ask is to pay the shipping and the handling, and it's yours. 877-526-215, or go online to catholicrc.org. When we come back, we're going to talk about a topic that you need to hear about. We'll be right back.
This is Bishop David O'Connell, and you're listening to the Terry and Jesse Show at Immaculate Heart Radio.
Back to the Terry and Jesse Show on Immaculate Heart Radio. Want to join the conversation? Call 888-526-2151. Now here's Terry and Jesse.
This program is not right versus left. It's right versus wrong. Have you heard about the after-school Satan Club that received a fast-track tax-exempt status from the IRS? Took only 10 days.
Unbelievable.
For them to get their designated tax-exempt status. What's funny is that many Catholic and Protestant groups under President Obama are still waiting, okay? After 8 years, they still haven't received their nonprofit status. And so, to me, I scratch my head here. I say, how could a satanic group get a nonprofit in 10 days when many Catholics and Protestants have been waiting years, have been rejected, or they've just been basically, they've been just stalling them for years and years and not answering them. Well, here's what's basically happening. This is being reported by Judicial Watch and Breitbart News, that in 2016 October, an announcement was made by the Satanic Temple of Seattle for its proposal of an after-school Satan Club in Point Defiance Elementary School. The Satan Club said that they're going to focus on free inquiry, rationalism, science, and character building. Science? Here's what's funny. It was the Catholic Church that invented science. Why are Satanists going to be teaching kids science?
Baloney.
Okay, well, that's a side point, yeah. So this Satanic Club, this after-school program, they said they're going to have a uniform syllabus that emphasizes scientific, rationalistic, a non-superstitious worldview. Now, here's also what they say, that the twisted evangelical teachings of good news clubs, apparently of the Protestant Bible studies after school, they wrote, the Satanic Club says, robs children of the innocence and enjoyment of childhood, replacing them with a negative self-image, preoccupation with sin, fear of hell, and aversion to critical thinking. These Satan clubs after school, they want to incorporate games and projects and thinking exercises that can help children understand how we know, what we know about our world and our universe. And also, Judicial Watch, they report that the Satanic Temple of Seattle, with their director, his name is Lilith Starr. The group documents basically show that parents' permission is going to be necessary for the children to join the club. And they also said, the director of the Satanic Club, he said this makes me laugh.
Yeah, no,
he says, after-school Satan clubs are led by caring Satanists. Okay, I'm going to try not to fall off my chair here. So here's the point that I'm making. It doesn't matter if you put lipstick on a pig. It's still a pig. I don't care what they say, that they're going to teach rationalism and science and these wholesome games, and they're going to be led by caring Satanists. The fact is, they're Satanists. That says everything. What do you think about this? I'll share with you. I'm going to turn it over to Terry. I'm going to share with you what one of the greatest exorcists in this country,
before you,
rest in peace, Father James LeBar, he said years ago about Satanists.
Before you do that, Jesse, I want to make it really clear. What is the definition of a Satanist so that we have a clear understanding of who these people are? Because when you talk about what Father said about the Satanists and how they're recruiting the young people, we have conversion stories of Zachary King, we have conversions of David Arias, and I'm going to give them away because I want you to hear how they got involved. It's similar to this. Call 877-526-215 and get those conversion stories. It'll help your kids, help you understand what's going on and the seriousness of this. Jesse, tell us what the definition of a Satanist is.
Oh, here's something that's very important for us as Catholics. Satan, his name is Lucifer.
Exactly.
Or the Bible says, or the devil, or the great dragon. So what's a Satanist? A Satanist is a follower of the devil.
Exactly.
Very simple. This is not rocket science here.
Nope.
Now, why is it that they want to get into these elementary schools? Terry and myself, we've interviewed many Satanists on the program, many ex-Satanists who are now Catholics. Every one of them says the same thing. They were groomed. They were prepared for this. They were basically, evangelized, so to speak. Here's what Father LeBar, who wrote a book on Satanism, he was the exorcist for New York under Cardinal John O'Connor, may he rest in peace, both of them. He says, basically, most of the recruiting for Satan occurs in schools, albeit high schools generally.
Yep.
A group of Satanists will single out students who do not fit in with the crowd, do not have close friends, or do not participate in school activities. The recruiter refers to this type of individual as a nerd or a loner. They befriend these individuals by talking to them before school, between classes, or after school. They'll eat lunch with these new friends and maybe help them do their homework, gaining the confidence and friendship of the individuals. The unknowing students may feel for the first time that they have individuals who seem to really enjoy their company and care about them. They think that they fit in at last with somebody. So when confidence and trust have been gained, the unknowing students are likely to be asked to attend a special party where drugs and alcohol are free if they care to indulge. Terry, it's funny. Doesn't this sound exactly like everybody we've talked to?
Absolutely.
David Arias,
They all said
Zachary
the same
King,
thing. Yes.
Deborah Lipsky.
Lipsky.
I mean, we've interviewed several ex-Satanists. They say the exact same thing that Father Labar is saying.
That's right.
Father Labar says, so the people are invited once they feel accepted to a party. The people at the party will seem to be very friendly and caring. At these parties, nothing about Satanism will be mentioned. He or she may be invited to quite a few of these parties so that the recruiters may gain as much information about the individual as possible, and so that the potential recruit may become comfortable with them. There will come a time when the group will ask the individuals to join the Satanic Club.
Yep.
If the individuals agree to attend a club meeting, a light satanic service will be performed for their benefit. Satanism draws youth because of its secretiveness from their parents, the whole mystery that surrounds it, and it seems everyone wants to know a secret. And so the recruiters, keeping the service mysterious and secretive, these young potential recruits, they want to learn more, and they don't want to offend their newfound acquaintances who have been so friendly to them, and so they end up joining. What I just read to you from Father Labar is exactly what every single person we've interviewed that became a Satanist and now is left and they're Catholic, this is exactly what they've done to the letter.
I'm going to add one more thing that all of them have said to me. They start telling them they're going to get power to do things, to be rich, power to change, to do bad things to people you don't like, put spells on people. All that is presented in that as a way of getting power. And again, whether it's Deborah Lipsky or any of the ones that we have, I want you to hear these stories because they're powerful testimonies of how Jesus Christ entered into their life and they came out of Satanism to Christ. And you can get those. I'm just going to give them to you, and you just pay the shipping by calling 877-526-2151. And at the same time, meditating on the Passion of Christ is so important during Lent. I want you to also consider seriously getting Meditations on the Passion of Christ. It's a 1-hour video that's going to impact you very profoundly about what Christ did on the cross on that Good Friday. And you've got Scott Hahn, Tim Staples, and Father Bill Casey also giving their input. This is a meditation you're going to keep the rest of your life. Because I'll tell you what, when you meditate on the Passion, that's the greatest thing we can do because we're centered on Christ. I'm going to leave you on one note what St. Augustine of Hippo said. This is a powerful statement for the quote of the day for the saints. If you believe what you like in the gospel and reject what you don't like, it's not the gospel you believe, but yourself. See how dangerous it can be? And that's what happens with Satanism. You start believing in yourself, and what happens? You leave Christ. We do not want that. Call the toll-free number and get those conversion stories because I think it'll help your son or daughter. They might be working with the Ouija board or anything like that. This will stop them in their tracks. And I'll just mention a 19-year-old boy last week said that to me. He came to the Spiritual Warfare Conference, and he had been playing with the Ouija board. And after going to the Spiritual Warfare Conference, and you can get those CDs too, he's now spending 2-3 hours a day before the Blessed Sacrament, praying his rosary. He's doing his examination of conscience. Why? Because someone taught him the faith. That's how important these recordings are. Call 877-526-2151. And if you have a question or comment on Satanism, I know our lines are going to light up, but we want to teach you. You can call us at toll-free 888-526-2151. And maybe you have a son or daughter dabbling in it. We got to stop it right at the bud. 888-526-2151.
This Friday, I'm going to be at St. Thomas Aquinas Parish in Avondale, Arizona. Friday night, I'll be there. It's from 7:30 to 8:30, talking about the absolute power of prayer. Saturday, I'll be doing a seminar from 8 a.m. to 12 noon there. It's on spiritual warfare.
Oh, boy.
At St. Thomas Aquinas Church in Avondale, Arizona.
Jesse, before you finish, I want you to understand, go to jesseromero.com to have him come. Take a minute and explain what you're doing when you go to a parish with the exposition of the Blessed Sacrament, your power preaching. Give us an example of what you're doing because it's touching of many souls.
I did that last night at a parish. It was and I'm doing it more and more because this is the only way that we're going to change our culture. It's not enough for Terry and myself and people to go out and preach the gospel. That's good. Don't get me wrong. That needs to be done. Power preaching, catechesis, biblical theology, teaching people the truth and charity. That needs to be done. But after that, I'm finding that I need to take people into an experience of Christ. And so I'll ask the priest after to expose the Blessed Sacrament.
Beautiful.
As we do, with all the exposition prayers. And as the Blessed Sacrament's exposed, the lights are off, we just have the candles on, and I'll have the choir playing very soft music, okay?
Yeah.
Soft background music. And at this point, I'm on my knees with a microphone, and very quietly, I'm not shouting, I'm saying it very subdued. I'm leading people in prayers, in healing prayers, to heal our children, to heal our marriages. I'm leading people through deliverance prayers, to reject evil spirits, reject all the things we've done in the past that have glorified the devil. People walk out of this crying. They're saying, your preaching was good. The second half was better.
We'll be right back with more. Don't turn that dial.
This is Dr. Scott Hahn, and you are listening to the Terry and Jesse Show on Immaculate Heart Radio.
We're back, Blue Collar Catholic Radio. Somebody was wondering probably, so what does the word Satan mean? The actual definition of Satan means adversary. Adversary. In other words, guess what? He's not your friend, okay? That's what the word Satan means. We're talking about the fact that the IRS, I can only just imagine there's probably a bunch of Satanists in the IRS. Why would they fast track them in 10 days and not Catholic organizations and Protestant organizations? They keep stonewalling their IRS, their nonprofit status.
Exactly.
I mean, I can only imagine that there's people there that work for Satan. What's fundamentally wrong? By the way, Satanism is a religion, in case you're wondering. And I'm embarrassed to say that it's a religion and it's protected by our nation's laws. Okay?
Sad.
Sad but true. So, what is the essence of Satanism? Well, the essence of Satanism, just for example, like in our Bible, the Catholic Bible, what's the essence of the Catholic Bible? You could probably say John 3:16, probably the essence of the Catholic Bible. The essence of the Satanic Bible, they have a verse which is a recurring theme in Satanism, which goes like this, quote, do what thou wilt, that is the whole of the law, close quote.
Wow.
In other words, Satanism, it's a lawless system. It basically teaches, hey, if it feels good, do it. Everything's okay. That's the essence of Satanism. It's follow your disordered passions. You know, a lot of youth are very susceptible to this because these recruiters, they know how to make it fun. You know, they gather in public parks, public libraries, in neighborhoods and stuff. They go combing for young people, especially those that are marginalized, those that don't have much friends, those that are picked on by bullies. And what do? Well, as they start recruiting them, they start teaching them, you want power?
Exactly.
You get picked on, huh? You don't have many friends. They think you're a nerd. They think you're a goober, huh? Well, you know what? Well, we'll give you some secret information. We're going to teach you these, there's these special prayers. We're going to teach you these spells. We're going to teach you these incantations and these chants. And we've got them in these little books and pamphlets. And guess what? If you practice these things, these rituals, guess what? You're going to be able to perform magic. Did you know that? And again, where's this magic coming from? It's coming from Satan. And a lot of the magic that they try to conjure up that they're always teaching them is obviously for sexual freedom. And also the magic of being rich or being successful. And this is what they do to these apprentices. They teach them how to cast spells. And they teach them how to try to summon a partner to satisfy their sexual desires or to talk to the world of the dead. These are basic rituals taught by these Satanists, so these young kids. And they say, if you learn these things, you're going to be successful. You're going to be able to destroy your enemies. Everybody's going to be afraid of you. And basically, there's nothing else you're going to need or you're going to want. These incantations and these prayers and stuff, it's going to give you the power to achieve everything that you desire. You know, as I mentioned this is exactly what Deborah Lixby told us.
Yep.
Former Satanist, now a Catholic. This is exactly what Zachary King told us.
Yep.
For David Arias, every single
Betty
person.
Brennan. Yep.
Betty, this is the same playbook.
Yep.
And then once the kids get into this a little bit deeper, then they start taking them into some of these more intriguing rituals, you know, like, for example, animal sacrifice, or, you know, the spilling of blood or the drinking of blood, and eventually eating animal parts. And they tell them, hey, you're going to gain this power that nobody else has. You know, all these life forces that are contained in the blood, you're going to be able to have their power. And so they start teaching them all these macabre things, you know, about, you know, basically cannibalism. And what happens? Well, these people, more and more, as they start getting pulled into this, they start realizing, wow, I've done some things that if my mom and dad find out or my friends find out, I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. So now, here's where they say, you know what? Are you in or you're out? You got to make a pact. You got to become totally involved. You got to make a pact with Satan himself. You got to totally commit yourself. Hey, you need this blood oath. You need to sell your soul to the devil. You need to promise to follow all his teachings. And this is exactly that slippery slope. And I'll tell you one thing, and I'll turn it over to Terry. I know a lot of priests involved in healing, deliverance, and exorcism, and I know people too as well, that some of the people that are in their 30s and 40s and 50s that are suffering from some type of demonic torment right now, you sit down and talk with them, and they'll start crying. They'll say, yeah, Jess, I got involved in Satanism when I was a kid, and this has haunted me all of my life. In other words, the satanic ritual abuse from people that got involved in witchcraft and Satanism at a very young age, this has almost lifelong effects.
I want to just mention for mom and dad, a lot of times the kids don't want to hear from you telling us what we just said. They need to hear it from another person. So that's why I say people like Zachary King or David Arias or Betty Brennan, all these Satanists, former Satanists that have converted back to the Catholic faith, or our spiritual warfare conference CDs, pick those up and then give them to your son or daughter and let them listen to it. Or even the DVD, another one, What Every Catholic Needs to Know About Hell. Here's the challenge. The young people think that the devil, in a sense, is just, you know, a figment of their imagination. This is just fun and games. And then once they get hooked, their history, they're into Satanism. So mom and dad, take my advice. Call 877-526-2151 and pick up some of the recordings of former Satanist conversion stories, because they can stop your kids in their tracks for going into Satanism. And you can also help them become better Catholics, because they're going to realize they don't even know it, many of them, that there's a battle for their soul. They don't know that choosing the devil sends you to hell. What? You're kidding me. No, that's exactly. They need to know that they're in a fight for their soul. Call 877-526-2151. Pick up all those other goodies like the Meditations on the Passion of Christ video. Show that to the kids. When they see what Jesus Christ did on the cross, this video, I think it'll touch them. 877-526-2151. And I'm just asking you to pay the shipping. I want mom and dad to take advantage, because I know you want your kids to get to heaven, and sometimes they need tools outside the family from our radio show that can touch them rather than you saying it, because they're going to take more value in a former Satanist than you or mom saying it, because who are you? But former Satanists have power to tell their story, and that's what I'd like you to do. 877-526-2151.
You can kind of tell if your kid's dabbling in the occult. There's some signs that,
oh, yeah.
They'll start using drugs, binge drinking. They'll start listening to awful music, heavy metal musical lyrics that have satanic or suicide rituals and stuff. Or you'll also see that they're losing interest in school. Their grades are dropping. You can even sometimes tell that their friends change. They start hanging around with the people that you start wondering, man, where did he get these set of friends from?
Yeah, exactly.
They'll start becoming interested in occult games. They'll start becoming interested in Ouija boards, tarot cards, fantasy role-playing games such as Dungeons and Dragons.
Yep.
Because they all become fascinated with the occult magic and this ability to try to obtain some type of power that they've been promised. And, make no mistake, music has a heavy influence on kids today. And we've got somebody calling up. Let's go to the phone line. Andre from Sacramento. Go ahead.
Terry, Jesse, you guys, I love you guys. Hey, I wanted to give you guys a heads up on, you may know this already, but I recently found out that there are Satanists and devil worshipers that go into the Catholic Church and only the Catholic Church to steal our Lord, to steal the host,
That's
the body
right.
and blood, soul, and divinity.
Mm-hmm.
They don't go to a non-Catholic Christian church because that's just a wafer and a piece of,
That's right.
a piece of wheat. But they'll steal it, take it out of the church, and go and desecrate our Lord in the black masses.
Exactly.
And it's that's just one reason of many that we know that the Catholic Church is a true church of Jesus Christ, because his enemy, they don't go into any other church to steal him, because they know that's Jesus, that's their enemy. So they go into the Catholic Church to steal the host. I mean, it's crazy.
Yep, well said.
Andre, you are spot on. I have had witches and Satanists tell me to my face, we go to the Catholic Mass and we go for one purpose, to steal the sacred host. Just like you said, they've told me to my face. Wow. In fact, I'll tell you, I won't get too deep into this. I escorted a witch outside of a church. A witch went to a mass that I attended, and I knew who she was. And we had the conversation. She says, I go to steal the sacred host because we know that's the presence of Christ. So I saw the witch at mass, and she went to the communion line, and she was kind of snickering and laughing. And I saw her, and I got right in front of her in the communion line. And I said, ma'am, I know who you are. You're the Wicked Witch of Pacoima.
Yep, it's a true story. Yep. Yep.
I said, you can't receive Holy Communion. So, I've another time I chased out a witch. I went to Santa Rosa Catholic Church in San Fernando. I just went to go do a holy hour, and there was a witch in the corner of the church. She had incense. She was burning incense on the floor. She had dolls with needles through them. She had she was burning her own incense inside the church. Yep. Okay, she had all kinds of images of little statues on the floor of monkeys. They were basically African demon gods. And I went over there. I said, "Get out of here right now!" I went over there, kind of like our Lord Jesus Christ with the money changers. Yep. I grabbed all her stuff and threw it in a trash bag and threw it out the door and threw her out of the church as well. So I know what you're talking about, Andre.
Andre, God love you. We're out of time. Thanks again for calling. Hey, we want to get those products on Former Satanist Becomes Catholic. Just call 877-526-2151 or the Imitation of Christ booklet. All this is good for you. We want you to have a Christ-centered life. That's why we give this stuff away. 877-526-2151. We'll be right back in about 24 hours. God love you.